that tape, Skywalker. Will you come on?
Come on.
Cut it out, Wendy.
Aha! Looks like this tape's been played a few thousand times.
Give it back.
The great Luke Skywalker, hero of the universe. When are you gonna grow up, Luke? When are you gonna grow up?
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the IGUSW.com podcast. I, of course, am your host, Tom Burgess. Thanks for listening in. What you heard was one of my childhood favorites, M pop music. Used to listen to that one. Whenever that one came on the radio, I had to come to a complete stop and listen to that one to the end. One of my favorites. Not sure why I love it, but I just do. I still have to pretty much drop everything and listen to it when it comes on. Don't hear it much anymore, but when it does, I'll be listening. All right, before we get started, before we give Sean Fuller, our friend Sean Fuller, a call, I wanted to address something that I heard on another podcast here recently in the last week or so. Cut that music real quick. This is some serious business here. I'm going to have our listeners, you guys, listen to this, and I don't know what to make of it. Maybe you can tell me what to make of it. I will have you listen to it, and I will give you my thoughts. This was taken from another podcast that I thought we were friendly with, but apparently I'm not sure if this is an act of war or this is the start of something serious. I'll have you take a listen, and I'll be back, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. So here we go.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Doom.
10-4, good buddies. This is Sky Payne with the CB cast for Star Wars toys and Star Wars news. Hope there's no smokies in the air for you today. Anyways, we got some good talking with Ron R.A. Salvatore and Stephen B. Danley. We're going to start talking about the new toys that are coming out by this company called Kenner.
And we could kind of go back and, we could complain, why does the TIE Fighter pilot smell so bad?
This really sounds like a job for Tommy Garvey. I think
thank you.
Right up his alley.
Well, anyways,
I'm down though. I'll help out, but I bet Tommy's the guy you want to talk to.
Yeah. Well, you could play the Tom Burgess role, and you could just say that you wished that they were like the old G.I. Joe figures from the 60s. Like, you can play the guy who thinks these newfangled toys aren't good, and the other toys used to be made.
You just made Tom Burgess's day. That now he's a role, like he comprises a role. I agree, though. He is that role.
Well, that's the dynamic on Galaxy of Toys is he's the sort of vintage dude.
Yeah.
And so what would the equivalent be? You'd be like, man, I don't know why Mego didn't get the license. You look at the way they did the Gorn. You look at the way they did the Planet of the Apes. They know how to make toys. Kenner doesn't. Kenner knows how to make Milky the Milk Cow and Daddy saddles, okay? Kenner they can't do the sculpts. Like, that's what you'd expect,
They're the Play-Doh company.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
So what do you guys make of that? No, in all seriousness, I think Sky and Steven over there at the Vintage Pod are awesome. And Ron, I am going to take any publicity as good publicity. So there you go. If you guys have not heard the Vintage Pod, what is wrong with you? Number one, why are you listening to this podcast? I will give you a few seconds, guys. Go ahead and go over to the Vintage Pod. Have a good listen at how a vintagey kind of Star Wars podcast should be run. Go ahead. Okay, if anybody is still here, I sure appreciate it. Why don't you do yourself a favor after you listen to this one, the IGUSW.com podcast, go over to the Vintage Pod, and they are all about Vintage. It is vintage all the time, and I would love to be on their show again. I would love to be on their show again, but the thing is, I have absolutely got no game. They've got Ron Salvatore, Chris Georgoulias, Todd Chamberlain. They've got the big guys. I've just got me. But while you are listening to their podcast, I suggest everybody go and check out the Star Wars Collectors Archive. I do have to be completely honest. If you do want to know anything about vintage stuff, I would suggest going there first. They are pretty much a one-stop shop of vintage Star Wars education. This pretty much not only is Star Wars Collecting 101, it is the gold standard for vintage information. Everything else is really secondary. The guys over at the Star Wars Collectors Archive have really outdone themselves. A lot of them don't know who I am, but I know who they are, and I respect them immensely. I've been visiting the Collectors Archive for quite some time, and they have my deepest respect, and I am glad I can call many of them friends now. So with that, enough butt kissing the Collectors Archive. Let's just kind of take a pause and let's call our buddy Sean. Let's get started. Let's take a look at some of the photos in the I Grew Up Star Wars gallery. We will review some of his photos that he has contributed to the gallery at IGUSW.com. All right, listeners, as I am dialing here, some of you will probably want to follow along at IGrowUpStarWars.com to know what we are talking about. So go to the gallery page. You will scroll right a few spots to slide 11, and that's where we'll start. 11 through 14, those are Sean's first slides, and we will be discussing those. The telephone is ringing.
Hello.
Hi, Sean. This is Tom with IGrowUpStarWars.com.
Tom, how are you?
What a pleasant surprise. You didn't know I was calling, did you?
I did not. What a surprise.
Everybody, this is Sean Fuller, a buddy of mine from IGrowUpStarWars.com. Sean is, of course, one of the very first folks who donated some of their great pictures. And we will jump right in here, Sean. We're going to go with the very first picture that you donated to us. That is going to, of course, be shot number 11. For those of you following along, that's not too far into the library of photos, which we are well over 550 of right now, Sean. What do you think of that?
That's amazing. Fantastic.
Very, very exciting. So we're going to go with the first shot of Sean's donations here. I'm going to try to describe this one as best I can. We've got a gigantic present, which I can only imagine would be something incredibly awesome and probably Death Star-y, perhaps, or maybe not. But there's a picture of the large present, and on one side it looks like your younger brother, Sean, and on the other side, of course, you are sporting the ever so very cool iron-on Star Wars Han Solo and Chewbacca t-shirt. So I know you can't go back and remember all the specifics, but it does look like it's Christmas here, 1977, I would think.
Yeah, that was, I'm pretty sure that was 77, looking at how young I look. And, yeah, that t-shirt got a lot of wear. That was my favorite t-shirt growing up.
Very cool. Now, if this is 1977, it's probably, well, most definitely not a Star Wars toy in there, or unless there's a couple of dozens of Star Wars puzzles in there. Do you remember what the present might have been?
Actually, that was some type of fountain. That was for something from my mother. All Christmas season long, that present sat under the tree, and we were just enthralled with what the possibilities were. And my sister even said that it was. She told us a tattoo from Fantasy Island was in it. So we'd actually go knock on it and lean over, but it was actually not anything for us, sadly.
Oh, that sucks. Well, it sure definitely looks like you guys were interested, and of course, I haven't learned my lesson. The bigger the present, the more interest you're gonna get for sure.
Yeah.
So, probably didn't get too many Star Wars toys that year. I know you're sporting the awesome T-shirt there. Now, I do have a question about the T-shirt itself. Is that a T-shirt that was store-bought, or did you actually get this one made at like a T-shirt, one of these T-shirt transfer shops?
I grew up in a real small town in southern Oklahoma, and one of the coolest places in town was a transfer place, a T-shirt shop.
Absolutely.
And, you went in and they were all around they were on the walls, and you picked out the number and everything, and you got to custom.
I remember it well.
Yeah, so they had all the Star Wars transfers at the time, and later on, I think we did Dukes of Hazzard and all kinds of transfers. But yeah, that was when we got to go in and pick out on our own.
If there were still transfer shops that had these same transfers, I would be all over this every day of the week. That would be so cool. So, is your brother as interested in Star Wars as you were back then?
No, not really. He was a destructive individual. So he was quick to break things, and so he never seemed to acquire as much as I did. I think because my parents were pretty into Star Wars, and they really liked buying the merchandise and the toys, but they kind of understood where he was in terms of not taking care of things. So,
gotcha. Okay.
I think one year we both got I got an X-wing and he got a TIE fighter. And I turned my back, and he peeled off all the stickers off my X-Wing, so they immediately handed me his TIE fighter and then replaced my X-Wing. So he was a little fart.
So that ended his collection for sure, collecting days for Star Wars right then and there, huh?
He always, he obviously being brothers, they bought stuff for both of us usually.
Right.
But, he never had the love for it. He didn't take care. He never could, retrieve you the weapons or what little accessory items there were, whereas I always had my storage case overloaded with the guns and things.
Good stuff. All right, so that is the first picture. Let's move over to the next one, and we've got, that's quite a good haul here. These are all new toys, Sean. So I'm going to describe what's going on. It looks like you're maybe sitting in the entryway of your house. Yep. Looks to be maybe a big heavy door there, and you are sitting next to a rather awesome Death Star playset, and next to you or not far away is of course the creepy but also awesome Hugo. What was that? I guess it's kind of not really a puppet because he was kind of a torso with a head, and that was pretty much it. You got to dress him and put disguises on him.
Yeah, he was kind of the boys' answer to that, that big Barbie head where they could fix her hair and do makeup.
Right, or the Farrah Fawcett or something of the day, sure. So, good stuff. I'm curious to see what else we've got here. So, those following along and those watching the vidcast, we can kind of go around the picture here and take a look. So, we've got something that might look like kind of a BJ and the Bear kind of a large semi-truck there on the end, maybe on the left side.
Yep, I think that was probably my brother's. They kind of divided the entryway up, left and right, and so his stuff was just off the screen there to the left, and that was my little corner.
Good deal. So we've got, it looks like maybe some Matchbox cards. Those are probably Matchbox cars with the car hauler there.
Yeah, Matchbox and Hot Wheels, and you press the button on the top of the truck, and they made different, it made different sounds. Horn.
Now a few assorted. Yeah, very cool. So those are the big, large buttons on top then, huh?
Right.
Okay, gotcha. So what is this? One part of kind of a walkie-talkie here back there?
Yeah,
or is that?
There That's mine, I guess, and then my brother's obviously over to the left. So
Gotcha.
I don't remember playing with that. So the other didn't work, or we fought a lot, so maybe we just didn't want to use them.
Gotcha. So let's get back to the meat and potatoes of the picture here, you sitting in front of the Death Star. I'm assuming this is probably near Christmas or Christmas when this picture was taken?
That would have been Christmas morning. We did, our family did Christmas, excuse me, we'd open presents from the family on Christmas Eve, and then Christmas morning was all the stuff that Santa had sitting out and ready to go, so those were all from Santa. So he was the man that year with that Death Star.
Wow, yeah, he did you guys really good that year for sure. So good stuff. Did you get you remember getting any figures along with the I don't see any figures in the picture, but any figures along with the Death Star?
We got we got most of the smaller things from the family, so I know there were quite a few figures the night before.
Very cool. That you still have that Hugo then, Sean?
I do not have Hugo anymore. I do still have that Death Star, though, with the box.
Very good. Very cool. That's awesome. Maybe we should do I Grew Up Hugo. Maybe that's my next project. So let's go back. I think we are actually going back in time a little bit. So you sitting in front of the Death Star was, I guess, 79, which would make sense. And then we're going back to our Ben Cooper days. The next shot is, of course, you with the... Maybe this isn't 1977 because it looks like you've got an inflatable lightsaber there. Is that correct?
Yeah, that might have been.
Sean,
year-wise might have been 78.
Okay, yeah, that might make a difference there. So there is a little bit of a typo there, but you've got the Ben Cooper costume, the full costume, and for those that didn't know that Darth Vader was in Star Wars, well, you've got it right emblazoned right on your costume there, so there's no mistake. Yeah, so you were the wow. Looks like you've got are you wearing a hood with the Darth Vader costume, huh?
That's the plastic hood that attached to the that was part of the costume.
Oh, really? I had no idea. Wow. Okay. Well, I only had the Stormtrooper, and I guess during the Empire Strikes Back, they really chinsed out, so they definitely didn't have any hoods or anything when I was sporting the costume. Very cool. And seeing that we're talking to each other not far from Halloween. That was just a few days ago. Did you get any Halloween trick-or-treaters this year?
We don't do it at our house. We take our kids over to some friends of ours and tour through their neighborhood. So we haven't had trick-or-treaters in a long time.
Oh wow, okay. So did you see any Star Wars characters this year?
I saw a couple of clone troopers, but no classic characters.
Gotcha. Well, I mean that's to be expected. Any Ezras or anything new like that?
I didn't see any of the new things. Couple clone troopers, and then there was a Jedi that went running by, but he was a prequelized Jedi.
Oh, okay. Well, we can't fault him on that.
Yeah.
So everybody knows that you're a big R2 fan, or those that know you pretty well on the I Grew Up Star Wars Facebook page, and of course you've got your own Facebook page. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that before we move on to the next picture here?
Yeah, I've got. I'm a big R2 nut. Not quite the R2 collector like some of the other guys are with their figures, like Bill and his Vader collection. But R2 was one of my favorites early on, so I've tried to collect as much R2 stuff as I can, and it's not a lot compared to others, but it's a nice little collection. And so I just started a little Facebook page called All Things R2. So we're not quite up to I Grew Up Star Wars popularity, but adding one or two every day.
Well, with all the hundreds and thousands of people listening to the podcast right now, I'm sure you'll have quite a surge of folks visiting All Things R2 on Facebook. So type that into your search bar and join the page. Is that something that anybody can join, or is that something that you need to kind of allow them to join? Sean?
Yeah, they just clicked if they would like to join, and then I'm pretty quick to respond just to make sure that we're not getting spam or anything.
Yeah, for sure. So if you are an R2 fan, and who isn't, Definitely jump on Sean's page and check it out. Very cool. So let's round it out. Let's go to the next page. There's a lot of action in this page, slide here, Sean. It looks like we're at a Star Wars, or not? Excuse me, not a Star Wars. It definitely turned into a Star Wars pageant. But what's going on here? What I can see is that you're on a stage. There's a huge, what looks to be a large red ribbon in the foreground there. And we've got a stormtrooper over here. We've got you, I believe, is running around in the Darth Vader costume. Is that you?
Right, that's me.
Kind of in the middle. And we've got a Han Solo, and of course, I don't know what Santa's doing, but he looks to be pretty distressed, and he's either on the way to the ground, or he's probably trying to exit stage left there. Next to Santa, I see someone that has got to be Luke Skywalker, right?
Right.
And next to him, the fellow in the brown. Do we know who this guy is going for? He looks kind of like a monotone Robin Hood of some sort.
I think he was an elf.
Oh, okay.
And then next to Solo there, you just barely see the figure in the back is white. I'm thinking, I don't really remember all this well, that maybe it was I think the way we did it was each class kind of did their own little, 5-minute little story. And I think it was built around something similar to the like a Christmas story, where maybe that was a ghost of, Christmas past or future or something. I think that's what he was trying. I mean, maybe I'm just putting too much into this, and he's just a snowman.
It could be. It actually looks like the Mummy to me, but that would be quite a weird scenario there. So, do you remember anything about pictures, of course, but do you remember any specifics on what was going on here? I mean, I know that. Do you remember the story that you guys put together?
Ours was pretty simple. They just let's see, 70. So this, I'm trying to remember what grade that would have been. But they just put up there's a record player over in the corner of the stage, and they put the John Williams soundtrack on, and we basically just ran around there wasn't any real story to it, but there were only, it was a very small school. I think there were 11 of us at the time in that class, and so everybody kind of had a little bit of a part. We're missing Princess Leia, and that's my best friend, Paul, is Solo, and the young man named Chris Hacker was Luke there. And
okay, great.
We kind of ran around, and then Chris and I battled with. I had that inflatable lightsaber, and he had one of those. If anyone remembers those old, not they were hollow, but hard plastic swords that would glow in the dark. And so at the climactic point of the little presentation, he and I stood there and battled, and I had that stupid inflatable lightsaber, and he would hit me with the hard sword that he had, and that little lightsaber would just go flopping from one side to the other. Oh, gosh, it was embarrassing. But,
yeah, I think the knockoff lightsaber, I think the Force Beam is what it was called, was definitely a little bit more sturdier than the actual licensed Kenner inflatable lightsaber. So sounds to me like you got the kind of the losing end of that lightsaber battle.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty gruesome. There were that elicited a lot more laughs than I think we were going for at the time.
Sure. Do you still know these guys from your early elementary school days?
Sadly, I do not. My mom actually still lives in that a little bit away from that town, so she knows a lot of their parents and gets updates every once in a while. But I haven't seen those guys, and it's got to be close to 30 years. So. Yeah,
it'd be fun to actually talk to them sometime and. And see if they're still interested. It's funny. I've got a friend that I spent pretty much all of my free time with, and recently met him again. Well, not met him, but kind of talked to him over Facebook and over some phone calls and that kind of thing. We don't talk much as we should or probably could, but it's funny. He remembers things that I don't, remember about playing Star Wars, and of course he remembers. It's kind of funny just to kind of between the two of us, we're kind of reconstructing our childhood and what we did and where we went and the friends we had, and of course the figures and the toys that we played with. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's really kind of fun. So. There you go. 4 pictures from Sean, and all of them great. I know we have quite a few more that we could definitely go to, but I think we're pretty good with these first 4, and of course we'll have you on. And I do want to apologize because I've been talking to you about having you on the podcast for quite a while, and I blew you off the last time because let's face it, Sean, I'm pretty ridiculously lazy. So glad to have you on this time. So any other? I forgot because I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our journey to Death Valley that we all did earlier this year. Now, of course, we'll be playing a few pictures of all of us. As we're watching the VidCast here, but any fun memories that you would want to talk to me about during the trip there?
Well, that was for me once in a lifetime deal. I really appreciate you and Gus and everybody putting that together. I had an absolute blast. I would definitely recommend it to others if you guys do it again sometime. Getting to see those places that you've only seen on screen. I can't even really describe it. And then the joy, and it was joy to come home and sit there with my phone in my hand and play Star Wars and then Return of the Jedi, and be able to pause and hold up my phone with my wife and say, and the kids and just see them looking at me kind of rolling their eyes.
Yeah, they might be rolling their eyes, but I'll tell you, most Star Wars fans would just be licking their chops to have an opportunity. And the great thing about Death Valley is for those folks that live here in the States, the California sites, Death Valley is California, but the Redwood sites and, of course, the Buttercup Valley sites, they're all relatively easy to get to. And the great thing, especially about the Death Valley sites, is they're rock and there's sand, and not much of it really changes. And when you go there and you're standing in front of a vista where R2 is kind of rolling through a canyon, it looks exactly like it did as you remember it, watching the movie when you were a kid. So it was just pretty amazing to be standing there on that plateau, kind of looking into R2's canyon and imagining R2 roll through there. So, yeah, it's kind of an eerie feeling, but it's kind of an overwhelming, kind of nerdy, kind of awesome feeling. So,
well, and I think what I was surprised by, there were only a couple spots that we actually did anything what you would call walking or hiking or anything. Is how I was amazed at how many things were right off the side of the road or right in very popular places that you just, instead of looking to the right, we would turn and look to the left, and you see this iconic landscape. It was amazing how accessible it is. It's something that you probably need someone to help you, to get to specific places, but they were all easily accessible.
Absolutely, yeah. It's literally driving up to a parking lot and walking a few hundred meters, if that, 10, 20 meters, and then you're there and you're right in a Star Wars shot. Some of the shots that I know you're talking about, where there was a little bit of effort, they actually had elephants that they had dragged to those locations. That Desolation Canyon is one that I'm thinking of. And if you can drag an elephant to this place in the middle of nowhere, I think if you've got the gumption and if you've ever been to Vegas, it's just a 2.5-hour drive north, and you are pretty much in the Star Wars universe. So.
Well,
what I meant was, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you mentioned, that since it's stone, there's so much there that's unchanged. I remember on that, when we were doing the road to Jabba's palace, there was a little spot to the left that was just slightly discolored. And I I think Jake pointed that out in one of the reference photos that we had. There was just this little outcropping that was just a litlittle bit darker than the surrounding material, and that looked exactly the same. And then there was that rock over to the right on top of the hill.
As 3PO's kind of walking through the shot, there's a little rock up there, and it's still there, and there's a little discolored area of pebbles and rock and sand. That's all there. So when you're standing, when you've got the photo reference and you're kind of looking for these shots, things are so easy that things come together so quickly and easily that you can line up these shots almost perfectly. So it's really fun. So if you know where to go, there's a lot of reference and maps and places, directions on where to go for these visits. And it's like we said before, it's most of them are right off a parking lot or a road, and you are right there on Tatooine. So are you going to Celebration this next year here?
I am. I'm looking forward to seeing all you guys again.
Perfect. Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to it. So that is going to, I think, wrap it up. Sean, do you have any final words for us before we let you go? I think my calling card is running out of minutes here. So.
No, not at all. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for giving me a shout. Good
deal. Well, thanks, Sean, and thanks for joining us and being so patient, and thanks for sharing your very cool memories with I Grew Up Star Wars, and of course, thank you once again for donating your pictures so many years ago. I think that was maybe 6 years ago, so it's been quite a while. So,
well, thank you for hosting the website. I really enjoy it.
You were there from the start, and we sure appreciate it. So, hey, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, guys, I think we're going to probably stop while we are ahead. Wanted to once again say thank you to our friend Sean Fuller. A shout out goes to Super Robotic Encounters, the folks responsible for the intro and outro music here at the IGrowUpStarWars.com podcast. And also, a warm, hearty, fuzzy hug goes to, of course, our friends Steven and Sky at the Vintage Pod. Howdy, guys. I think our feud has started and stopped pretty much right here. So, have a great evening. Have a great day, wherever you are. And all I can say is, hey, bye for now.
We hope you enjoyed your programming today. That was the
IGrewUpStarWars.com podcast
with Tom Burgess
and his friends. Don't forget that.
Well, bye.